Welcome to our webinar. My name is Chris Uthe, and I'm the Chief Product Officer here at BlackBeltHelp. And I am joined today by Nikki Hoback, and I will let her introduce herself.
Hello, I am Nikki Hoback. I am the Service Desk Manager for MSU Denver.
Awesome. And we are here today to discuss how to provide efficient and accurate support at a reduced cost. Something that we're all after these days, right? With budgets the way they are, but our needs skyrocketing for student support. So we do have the Q&A option open. I would encourage you, if you have any questions during the presentation or along the way, just go ahead and drop them into the question and answer area. We're also going to have a couple poll questions throughout, and then there'll be a question panel at the end as well. So if you all wouldn't mind participating in that, that would be fantastic. Thank you all very much for joining, and we will get started. Just a quick overview of what we plan to cover today. We'll go through a couple introductions and talk about MSU Denver and a little bit about BlackBeltHelp. And the core of what we're doing today is a little bit more of a fireside chat kind of feel with a nice discussion with Nikki and I about how they're using EduView and what it's doing at their institution and what they needed it for, really, the problems and solutions that they were looking to solve. So let's get started with some introductions. Again, I'm Chris Uthe. I'm the Chief Product Officer here. I've been in higher ed about 20 years, and I am absolutely pleased as punch to be here. And I will let Nikki give you a little more information on her.
Hi, yes. Like I said, I'm with Metropolitan State University of Denver. We're kind of a unique campus. We're a tri-institute, so there's actually three colleges on one campus here in the heart of downtown Denver. I've been with higher ed since April of 2022, so not too long, but I do have a technology background and then a leadership background as well. So I bring a lot to the role, and I really, really love it here. I do spend my free time out in the mountains, camping as much as I can, reading books. I'm an avid reader, and then building Lego sets.
Fantastic. Uh,
Cool. MSU has been around for quite a while. Tivoli is actually the oldest brewery in Colorado, and it lives right here in the heart of our campus. We do have some really fun, like brewmaster classes as well that you can take. It's really cool. It's right in the heart of downtown, very easy access. We're a commuter school, so that's also a little unique. We have a lot of students who come to us from all different kinds of walks of life, and they commute here on our public transit system. So kind of interesting like that. We've been around for about 60 years as an institute, previously as a state college and now a fully accredited university.
that's awesome. Are the brewmaster classes part of the chemistry program, or do they have their own program? I gotta know.
They have their own program, but you can take them as an elective for pretty much any degree path.
Oh, that's pretty great. I bet those are very hard to get into.
Yeah. Just a little bit about some of our numbers here. So we have a 79% first call resolution rate for our students. We do get a lot of tickets escalated to us from other teams. So I mostly kind of track my team's week of resolution. We try to close things within 5 business days of them coming to us. So we see that 79% first call resolution rate jump to 91% for week of resolution, 86% customer satisfaction rate. And then through the work that we've done over the last couple of years since I stepped into this role, we've seen an 8% decrease in support tickets, which is great. We want our users to be able to self-service. We want our students to have access to knowledge-based articles that are going to help them succeed here at MSU. We want people to be able to find the answers without having to necessarily call or wait for us to get back to them on a ticket. So that's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. When you say that you have other offices that are sending calls your way, what other offices are sending calls to you? And is there any area of campus where you don't have impact or get calls from?
So we have a variety of other offices that send calls to us. So we've got BlackBeltHelp as well. Will escalate calls to us that they're unable to resolve on first call resolution. And then we have what our enrollment call center services. And so any admissions or registrars or financial aid that gets misdirected there, or students who start with them when they're facing errors on the pages and get sent over to us. So we don't track those as first call resolutions because they come in as like
Yeah,
a secondary call. So
absolutely. Awesome. So I'll give a little spiel, an overview of Black Belt Help. Black Belt Help has been around for quite a while. We were born out of a group of companies now. That means that we have 20 years of experience here in higher ed with a little over 200 partner institutions. Have served 4 million students, and we average between 1.3 and 1.5 million interactions a year. And what does that all mean? That means that we're here for the same reason that Nikki is there, to get students answers and information and to get them across the hurdles in their educational journey. We pride ourselves in being available 24/7 in our human network, but also having an awesome technology front for that gives students and also support personnel access to answers as quickly as possible. And the side that we'll sort of be focusing on for this webinar is really empowering those frontline one-stop or support people with as much data as we possibly can, as quickly as we possibly can, without making them juggle all of the different systems on campus. Important to note that we do support and lend support to lots of departments, everything from IT to learning management systems, and all the way through your student services for admissions, financial aid, et cetera, et cetera. Some partner institutions, in case you see a college near you or an institution near you that rings a bell. We work across the United States on all levels, from small privates all the way up to large publics. And this is sort of the greatest way to understand our goal, which is, we call it the campus maze, and our VP of marketing has coined the phrase hazing by the maze, which is a great way of putting it. When I was a student, we would go to campus and we would walk through the quad, and each one of these offices had a desk or a table out on the quad, right? And it was check-in day, and you would go from table to table and get all of your things done and understand. And now nobody really wants to do that. They don't do that anymore, and students want to be able to do it all through their phone. And so with their head down, they get lost in the maze of all of the different offices. Half of the students couldn't tell you the difference between financial aid, bursar, and records, and so they don't know where they're supposed to be going for the things that they need. Demonstrated by the fact that, a few stats here, 60% of the students aren't aware of the full scope of services. They don't even know what all they can do at the institution or where to go to get help. Lots of them feel overwhelmed, and a lot of them identify as a first generation college seeking student like I was. One of 3 students don't advance their sophomore year, and only 60% of the students enroll in college earn a degree or a credential within 8 years of graduating high school. And that is a direct result of the barriers that we put up in front of them, whether it's barriers to figuring out where to go or where to find the information, or where to just start. And so Black Belt Help's real mission is to provide the first place to go and all of the data to help them get over as many hurdles as possible in a timely fashion in the modality that they want. So that's enough about Black Belt Help, outside of the fact that we have strong integrations across the board here. We're going to hear about a few of these when we talk to Nikki about their experience with Black Belt Help and the EduView platform. But these integrations are important and critical to bring everything together. I do want to pause just quickly and have the first poll come through. So we'll have a couple polls. The first one is just, what are some of the key challenges that you're facing in providing student support? Please choose as many as you feel are those key challenges. Things like staffing shortage and bandwidth are, frequent flyers, obviously. After hours and weekends, toggling between all the different systems that you have to provide answers, and then that student satisfaction engagement coming out the other side are all options here. So, and if you have other things that you feel are not represented, please put them in the chat and let us know. So, While we run that poll, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen and we can transition into I have a few questions for Nikki that I think will help lay out what they were running into at MSU Denver and how EduView may have been a solution for them in some ways. So Nikki, to play off of the poll question, why don't you tell us a little bit, if you don't mind, about the challenges that you were facing in giving student support prior to partnering with BBH?
Yeah, challenges that we face. Call volume is definitely something, high call volume during start of semesters is always overwhelming, and finding staff to support that can be really difficult. You spoke on budget. We all feel the woes of a budget cut. So having additional help to help with those like login calls and things like that, especially as like new students are coming into their first time. High school students have tons of questions and sometimes just want a little hand holding. So it just can be very overwhelming. And then 24/7 support was very, very important to us. We did have a prior company providing 24/7 call support for our lines, and they were sunsetting that service. They were no longer going to support IT services as 24/7. So that definitely meant we needed to find a better solution, something that could handle our level of call volume and then as well as continue that 24/7 support that our students really value.
Awesome. Um, a self-serving question of how did you get introduced to BBH? How did you find us?
Actually, so that's a very interesting question. Our previous provider actually suggested you guys when they were sunsetting their services, and we were looking for comparable someone with really good customer service. We really didn't want to lose that customer service piece. Someone who has been around in that industry supporting these types of services for a while, had some good, good history with them and stuff. And you were one of the top competitors. We did come across you naturally just doing our own individual searches, looking for what else is out there and who else provides these things. But having that, our old service provider recommend you by name and say, hey, we've heard really good things about these from other people. We think you should look into them. That was just really, really good to hear. And we loved it. So
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about how MSU Denver currently uses BBH, because we have a lot of software and services, and I know you don't use them all. So what areas do we help you with?
yeah, we mostly use you right now for just our IT support. We have talked to our enrollment call center services. That's a potential phase two for us. But currently, right now, it's our IT support, heavily involved in our login support, our Canvas support. So students, no matter when their assignments are due, can always call and get assistance. And then we have users who call for a variety of reasons. BlackBeltHelp is very, very good at taking in those calls that don't necessarily fall into the scope of work that we identified, handling those users, getting their tickets over to us for us to look at. So that was also huge that you're still able to provide the work within the scope of work that we've identified when implementing BlackBeltHelp, but also be able to handle those random one-off calls that don't quite fit in our little puzzle of work that we do, and be able to direct our users and sometimes even help them and guide them, even though it doesn't necessarily fall under login or Canvas or things like that. Mostly our students get the biggest support from Black Belt Help, which is huge. We have a student body of 17,000. So it's a lot of user accounts, it's a lot of questions, it's a lot of login support. So that was definitely things that we utilize you guys for.
Awesome. And then you use the EduView product internally within your team as well?
We do. We have licensing for it here, and we do have the edge of view. Yes.
Okay. Awesome. So you would say that we're sort of the first line of defense for most of the things that come into your team.
That's correct. Yeah, absolutely. You're actually option number one on our call service.
I
If you
love it.
call and you get us and you select option one, it takes you to Black Belt Help. We do utilize Black Belt Help 24/7, not just during our after hours time or on weekends. You guys are actively taking calls for us during business hours, handling our students as they're calling in. Even faculty and staff call in. You support our faculty and staff for their login issues as well, as a variety of things, which which involves like Wi-Fi and things like that too, because we have a lot of Wi-Fi support in a tri-institution. It can get a little hairy depending on who owns the building.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
yeah.
makes total sense. That's fantastic to hear. So, can you share just a little bit about transitioning to sort of bringing us in? Can you share a little bit about the experience with us implementing and our client success team and how that went? And maybe specifically talking a little bit about, working with the IT department to bring in some of this data that is important to us and gain access to it in the most secure way we could.
Yeah, absolutely. So for our implementation process, it was a rush job. So no one likes to have a rush job, but we did it and we handled it with grace, and you guys were a huge support in that. Like I said, our last provider was sunsetting their services, so we had a hard end date. It was a very quick turnaround. So the implementation process was very important to us, and we were looking for a new provider. We, like I said, had heard good success stories with you guys. We had looked through and done our research to make sure that we were going with a provider that was going to maintain that level of service with our users, as well as be able to work directly with us to just get this up and running and going forward. The implementation process, honestly, was very smooth. You're going to have bumps with any implementation process. We accounted for those, and it was nothing major. It was very easy to collaborate with BlackBeltHelp. It was very easy to meet with you guys. You were very attentive to our needs. You were very understanding. We have a kind of unique data situation here. Our data comes from different services. We have an SIS system and a CRM system and an ERP system that don't all like to communicate with each other on the back end. So making them communicate and making them provide data can be difficult. So that took some wrangling and some figuring out, and wanting to feed two data points to one field, and how do we tackle that. Very mindful of our security needs and talking with our security team as well to make sure that we're meeting our compliance, that we're not having anything on the back end open up that shouldn't be. Overall, the implementation went great, and most importantly, we made our deadline and we hit our implementation go live goal with a very quick turnaround. So that was really, really good. We were up and running before we lost service from our last provider. So it was a very nice overlap. It was a very smooth transition. Overall, it went very well.
Awesome to hear. What was your reaction when you first saw the web portal, or what we call Edge of View now? We used to call it Advisor Assist Desktop, I think. What was your reaction when you saw that, and when did it start turning in your head that, hey, this is something that we could use internally for folks on campus instead of just leaving it to BBH?
Yeah, jealousy was my first reaction. I saw it and I was envious, and I'm not gonna lie. We had a tool that was limping along and doing what we needed it to do, but it was also living within a service that had an end date very soon. It was not being maintained, and it really wasn't supported anymore. So we were already trying to find new solutions or think about ways where we can still easily see user data in one location. It took some time, and we finally got there. But when I saw that, I just thought to myself, why don't we have something like this? So and then there it was, just on a silver platter for me. So it's been great. It's really nice because, like I said, we have different systems that house our student information versus our employee information, and because we have so many user accounts, we were going to multiple locations to just find enough data to just even verify their identity, let alone support them with whatever their needs were. So getting to look at it and see and help build this out with BlackBeltHelp during our implementation and watch it evolve from just being its out of package EduView desktop to being exactly what MSU Denver needs to get their data all in one location. Watching it built out was really cool, and getting to be a part of that process was a lot of fun. Some new challenges, learned some new things, and it really is a one-stop shop. For we can go and see anything and everything we need to see with just a couple of clicks.
Yeah. So you touched on a few of the different things that you were solving, specifically that identity validation error, identity validation data that you were getting at. What other things were you, what other challenges were you hoping to solve by sliding Edge of You in where your old system was exiting?
Yeah, we were honestly trying to solve it's hard to say, but we were trying to solve like complexity. Things were very complex. There was a lot of systems, a lot of places. If we need to send, a code for verification, we have to go here. If we need to verify identity for a student, we go here. If we need to verify identity for an employee, we go here. And then the employee data wasn't feeding into the system we were using. So you had to go here and here. And it was just a very complex process and it's very time consuming. And it took my team a lot of time to just even get past verifying a user's identity to just even ask them, okay, what is your actual problem that you called about? And that's just not a fun experience for anybody. It's not fun for our end users. It's not fun for our service desk employees. So that level of complexity to just find what you needed to say, yes, you are legitimately who you say you are, and we can assist you now with this problem that's specific to our environment. It was taking a long time. So that helps solve that problem. It puts everything in one place, and you can just click tab, 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 and all your student information, all your employee information, all your personal data that's visible to be verified with is right there on the front page. So
Awesome. And we'll get into, I'm going to share my screen and demo a little bit, and you can provide some color commentary on your guys' most typical use cases. But what I think we covered one of the questions that I wanted to ask was what your favorite things were in Edge of You, but I think we've established sort of that identity verification piece of pulling it
mm-hmm.
in. I have to ask, one of the things that I think is really amazing about Edge of You is the onboarding process when you bring somebody new into the team and you go, yeah, you don't need to worry about learning Enter ID and Banner and Team Dynamics. You just open this one thing, put their identifier in and get it all at once, right? Have you guys onboarded anybody since you brought in Edge of You, and how would you say that that process went?
Yeah, we have. And it's very simple because, like you said, my onboarding process is very extensive. We have a lot of systems, a lot of services that take time to learn. I also have a large student employee staff. So my student employees are only here part time. So I usually do like a nice, like 2 week onboarding of just training on the systems and then an additional 2 weeks for just doing the calls. So this really streamlined that, and I can honestly get them trained on this in less than a week. It takes a couple of days. It's very simple. It's way fewer clicks. I don't have to have them. We have so it might be unique to our environment. I would assume not though, but we have like admin accounts that are elevated accounts versus like our standard user accounts. And just trying to teach someone that they need to run two browsers to run their standard account from and their admin account from, or run containers, or however you want to separate them. But having that be a point of understanding is really difficult sometimes. And this makes it really easy. And I don't have to say, okay, you need to have Azure bookmarked in your admin account browser, and you need to have Workday bookmarked in your normal account browser, and they don't have to remember which account goes to which system or which browser is where. They just go to one place. It's very simple. It's a quick stop, and it's one bookmark and one login.
Yeah, absolutely. The we see a ton of student worker related access, right? It just makes it so seamless to get folks in and out. And honestly, students these days, if they're going on in higher ed, they can probably navigate the interface pretty seamlessly out of the box. So it's like you said, the training on it takes a small amount of time. So we
It's
we
very
touched.
intuitive. It's an intuitive platform to use, and I mean, you almost just need to show them and they can kind of click around and figure it out themselves. It is not difficult to teach, which is great.
Yeah, that's fantastic to hear. We touched on the student workers. Tell me about what other roles in the institution use Edge of You. Is it just your team? Is there anybody else using it?
It's just currently my team utilizing it. My admin team does still have access as they helped us stand it up and provide the APIs and things like that that we needed to build it out with. So my app admins also have licensing, but don't utilize it for their day-to-day role. My service desk does, and I do have full-time staff on my service desk as well as student employees.
Awesome. We have a few questions that I wanted to get to right as we are getting ready for poll question two to come in and then a demo. But I wanted to address a couple of the questions that were popping in. One of which is, does EduView cache my data or store it somewhere? And the answer to that is no. Everything that happens in EduView is happening basically real time. And so we are pulling data out of whether it's Banner or Azure Active Directory, Team Dynamics, whatever systems that we're integrating with, we're pulling that out in real time as you need it. And we are not data laking it anywhere so that you do not need to worry about another copy of your data existing somewhere security wise. But you also don't have to worry about a synchronization job that's trying to dump a whole bunch of data into another person's cloud. So it's all happening in real time, which is one of the keys to the system realistically. It can happen, things can happen really quickly and then be noted or displayed in EduView very, very fast. Security options for logging into EduView was one of the questions, saying, hey, like this sounds like a lot of data, and that's fantastic, but how do you keep it secure? Of course, EduView is hosted in our cloud and is very secure. We follow we have a bunch of certifications and regular testing. But then also MFA is a requirement within EduView as well. So whichever MFA scheme matches your institution's security policy can be enacted to secure your login to EduView. So let's throw up poll number two, if you would, Susan, the magician behind the curtain. Thank you. And we will get into a little bit of a demo at the same time. So I want to give a big thank you to Nikki for allowing me to use her account at MSU Denver to showcase. So we're going to look at some live data and talk about how useful it can be. So let's get my screen up here. All right. So I want to walk through. This is EduView by BlackBeltHelp, and this is a pretty simplistic implementation of it. We have other more complex implementations as well, but I think Nikki's use case is just an excellent demonstration of all the value that it can provide. So in this case, MSU Denver is using Banner. They're using Azure Active Directory or Entra ID now, and they're using Team Dynamics. And some of the things that we may need to do as a user at MSU Denver is that first example is validating ID. So what fields do you use, Nikki, to validate ID?
Yeah, we use a variety of fields, anything that's kind of unique to the user as best as possible. And then we like them to confirm their identity via a 6-digit one-time code to their personal email address we have on file as well. So we ask things like birthday, your street address, class information if you're registered for classes, your personal email address, and then we do link a code to that for you to verify with us. Our 900 numbers, and things like that as well.
Okay. We've got a few things blurred out here for Nikki's sake, but we've got date of birth in here. We've got personal email that would be down here, residential street address and things like that. And then Nikki alluded to student information. Now, Nikki did not graduate or go to MSU Denver, so we don't have a ton of data in here, but you'll see all of the data that would normally be in here, which is whether they're an active student. In this case, are they a Emeritus student? Are they a Metro alumni? The application accepted date. Um, these fields are all very configurable. So we have sort of the defaults coming in from Banner. But frequently our customers will say, hey, this one field is really important to us. Nikki, did you have any fields that you wanted to add to this that weren't originally part of the setup process, or are these all just stock fields?
No, we absolutely did. So under the general info, the UDCID was an important field for us. That's an important information for us to just have internally and be able to reference. And then within the student info, We did work to get that current term, previous term, and next term. That is
Mhm.
something that we can use for validation instead of just pulling what you're currently registered for. We like to see past and future as well. And then another one that we had pulled in, application acceptance date specifically. Our profiles don't build immediately. There is a delay to you getting accepted and your account being active. And we get a lot of users who call us on the day they're accepted and are wanting to access that account. So being able to see, like, oh, hey, you call us today and you're accepted today, that's just a really quick at a glance. We can say, all right, you have to wait.
Yeah,
And then for employee info, if you want to click that, I can see if there were any custom fields. The custom field that we did for that one was the administrative account access to banner. That's important to us because if that says locked, it can indicate that the user may have like a specific error. And so we can actually like that error comes up and it's a very generic error. It doesn't allude at all what could be causing it. It's just your run of the mill, something's broken. And we can look at that at a glance and say, oh, this is locked. That's what's triggering that error.
got it. So that's a frequent flyer in the help desk scene, so to speak. You get a lot of calls on those.
We do, yeah.
Awesome. And I asked that question mainly to highlight the fact that we want to make sure that we have the fields that are most useful in here. And so, a lot of those are going to be, your 900 number, your org ID, or your email address, things that are, common to a lot of institutions. But then those unique, like the UDC ID, like you said, and the application date, those kinds of things, and then the account access to banner. Those are great examples of things that are unique to MSU Denver, but we've made that integration hook together. There's no reason why we can't pull them and give them to you so that you can be, useful. And in relation, the same thing is for our BBH folks that are on the phone, right, with your students or your faculty or your staff. They need access to that anyway. So being able to turn it around and provide it back to the institution in one area is sort of the goal here.
I will
I'll
make a
just
note here as well, if you don't mind. So we obviously went through implementation and we stand things up, and everyone likes to think that when you go through that process, you don't miss any checkboxes. We missed a few checkboxes. It was very simple to go back to BBH and say, hey, we actually need this field and get that field added after the fact. It was not a big process to do that. It was not a problem. So if you forget or don't think about a custom field that you need and it comes up later on, it's very simple to get added.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you guys use agent notes?
Not very often, no. We have like our own little internal thing that we use.
So these do exist. You can leave agent can leave notes on a particular user. So those are available, and then there can also be user alerts as well. So I'll move on from this is all data coming out of Banner, and obviously current term, previous term, next term are all pulling courses. So again, Nikki is using them to validate identity. You could be using them to do a variety of things, make sure that they're in the right classes, things like that. If I jump to Azure Active Directory, and I've pulled Nikki up here, you can see that we get a bunch of really great Entra ID, Azure AD information here. We can see that she's got the Microsoft Authenticator app installed on an iPhone. I'm not going to judge you for being an Apple person, but I am an Android person, so that's going to cause a rift later in our friendship. But more importantly, we can see things like the last password change date. We can see the fact that they have MFA, options enabled. And then, can you tell me a little bit about the risk details panel? Do you use that?
Yeah, so that was also a custom field that we had added. That's kind of important to our environment. We get risky users, and it happens. Like I said, we have 17,000 student accounts alone, on top of almost 2,500 employee accounts, 6,000 assets. It's very easy to become a risky user. You don't. So that was important because that process to remove that risk is a little different, and there really wasn't a field that could be pumped in to say yes or no, you're a risky user. So we just wanted that risk data, those details kind of right there visible, because you can go through all of your normal password resets and re-authenticate MFA. And if they're still on the risky user list, it's still going to cause them account login issues. So being able to see that at a glance means that you can do that first call resolution because you're actually noticing and being able to see like, oh, you're actually a risky user. Let me remediate that risk, and then go through our password reset process.
Yeah, so again, preventing the multiple calls and the that didn't
Mhm.
work. Well, let's figure out why it didn't work. Oh, well, we didn't look over here to realize that you're a risky student. And now we have
Mhm.
made you call in 2 or 3 times to figure that out and clear everything so that you don't get that
Mhm.
problem anymore. Um, so tell me a little bit. We've got some buttons here that do a little bit of action. And I think we talked a little bit about the send OTP. This is one that you
Mhm.
do use for identity verification. Is that accurate?
Yes. So we do send a one-time code to your personal email address that we just ask you to repeat back to us just to verify that it is you. Um, and so that if you can actually just click that button if it's a live button, it's not going to hurt anything. And then towards the bottom, it should actually generate that. Oh, it's at the top. Sorry. At the top, it generates that code. They just read that code back to me, and we confirm like, yep, that's you. You got into your personal account. You are who you say you are. And then that's for us to do anything related at all to like account security, password resets, MFA, like anything that all that's like, accessing their personal information in Workday, updating any kind of that information. We want to make sure that we've done that full verification process. So that's really simple. We used to have to go open another mailbox, put in the template, type in the code, send it off, and this just one click and it's good to go. It's right there.
Right. And you're sending that to their personal address, obviously, because
Mm-hmm.
they may or may not be locked out of their MSU account.
That's correct. Yep, goes to the personal email address we have on file.
So speaking of the personal email address you have on file, there's an email and phone update, which I'm not going to click because I'm not going to show your phone number or email address to everybody in the world. But if they call in and say, hey, I can verify all of this information, but I actually just don't have access to my Gmail account that I signed up with, is this option to update that for them?
Yeah, we do still ask that they have access to the personal email address on file. If they need to update it themselves, they can self-service that. But we are able to go in and change it once we've done the full verification. So if you don't have access to the old personal email address, we're not able to change it via this button. Like technically you could, but we just don't. You have to go through registrars or our HR department, depending. But if you have access to it and say, hey, I don't really use my Gmail account anymore, but I now use like my Outlook account or something else.
Sure.
Then once we've sent that code to your Gmail, you verified it, we can change it over to your Outlook for you. The phone number one, though, we do update fairly frequently. And that's because most people lose their phones, break their phones, or get a new phone number. And so we do need to update their phone number. But that's again, we send the one time code to the personal email address, everything's verified, and then we just update the phone.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about the delete all auth and reset password usages. When do you guys use those buttons?
Yeah, so the delete all auth is actually linked to our re-register, re-require MFA authentication methods. And that was a pretty interesting endpoint to try and map. And it gave us quite a few problems. And this was the simplest solution to solve that is was like, let's just make it a clickable button. There really wasn't a way to kind of map that specific button in Azure as like a field or something into here. And so making it delete all auth. So it just removes all authentication methods altogether, and it lets you set up your MFA from scratch. So you just get it and you go back in, and the first time you log into your account, it's like you're a brand new user, and it has you set up your MFA from the very beginning.
Awesome. And then reset password, I think is pretty self-explanatory, but you do some manual resets still.
Yeah, and or actually that reset password button is also pretty cool. That was a lot of fun to build. I don't know, I get excited about some of these things, but I know they're buttons, but they were fun. So the reset password button was pretty cool because we have kind of a unique thing where we use like a password generator for our temporary passwords. And when we started doing this, again, we're trying to eliminate the amount of windows we have open, systems that we're going to. And we actually got this to link to that random password generator site that we use. So when you click that button, it now throws that randomly generated password from our approved site onto this page for you to utilize. So you don't even have to go to that page, open it, generate a password, go back to Azure, type that password in, tell them their password and stuff. You just click it, it's right there, and it's already synced with Azure. It's already reset, and it's a temporary password. So they sign in and it has them pick a new password and set up their account again.
Yeah, so if you comboed the delete all off with reset password and gave them their temporary password, at that moment where they're panicking and I've lost my phone, I don't have MFA access. I need, to get back in. I've completely forgot my password. It was saved on my phone. I'm at this panic moment. All of a sudden, it's okay. Here's your temporary password. Log in once, set the new password, start setting up MFA all over again, and I've now regained access from somebody literally being 3 clicks in after verifying their identity. That's a pretty big, I'm sure, shift in the way that, things happen.
A lot faster.
Yeah. I'm going to open is there anything that I'm missing on the Azure tab that you think is important? Anything that you use regularly
Um,
that I didn't highlight?
We do like the account status. That was something that we asked to be added in as a field. Account status, yes or no. That just lets us know if the account is open. Like I said, we have, tens of thousands of users, and sometimes they call us and they're no longer students or they're no longer employees. And you would be surprised at how much time we used to spend working with those users before we were even able to get to a point that told us, oh, you're actually not an active user anymore. That's what's causing the problem. So this is really nice to see just at a glance, like, oh, okay, your account is locked or your account is a no, you're not active anymore. We can direct you to the right department or say, hey, this is how we can get you reactivated or readmitted or applying back to HR, whatever it is that we need to do. That seems like a very simple thing, but it was definitely a headache of ours for a little while of like, we go through the identity verification in quite a few systems to finally reach the system to support them that says, oh, you're not active.
Right. Yeah,
So
and
this was
then
very nice.
you were putting in a lot of time up front, both on their part and your
Mm-hmm.
part, to really understand, to get the ball rolling, only to say, oh, we actually can't fix that. You have to be active in the system. Turns out, we can show you who you need to talk to, but we can't help you until that happens. And so why burn the 20 minutes up front getting everything done and to only be able to point them in the next direction?
Yep.
Sounds good. Well, I'm going to open Team Dynamics quick. And Team Dynamics is your ticketing system on campus, correct?
Yes.
And so when I open Team Dynamics for you, I'm seeing a bunch of tickets that are assigned to you, which is a little bit disingenuous because that's not probably how you use it. Typically, for a student, though, when you open this Team Dynamics tab, you would see all tickets that are open on their behalf, correct?
That's correct. Yes. So I am an IT employee, so most of mine are going to be related to things that I'm actually doing with other IT employees. But when you do open a student's account, it will be any ticket at all, open or closed. No matter the status will show. So you get really good ticket history here. You can see everything at a glance. If they've got repeat problems, it's very simple to see this right here when you look them up. And then you'll see the things that are associated with their calls or their direct to portal tickets that they put in for us.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you can create a new ticket. I think you said BBH when we take a call, and whether if we can't do first call resolution, we'll always create a new ticket and get it assigned and moved on to you all through this window. Is that accurate?
Yep, that's correct. And then, or the ability to update an existing ticket, which was huge for us. Our last
Yeah.
after hour support did not have a TDX integration. And that I didn't know how much I was missing until I got this, and now I will never go back. But having a platform that integrates with our existing ticketing system is huge. The ability to update an existing ticket has saved us so many duplicate tickets and dirty ticket data. Our ticket hygiene is way better with this platform. It's it's good.
Yeah, and I think the workflow that most people wind up in, that you were probably in with your old provider, was they were just creating new tickets for everything because they couldn't log in and see anything in TDX. So their only option was essentially to send an email saying, this is a new ticket, here it is. And whether that really should have been an update to an existing ticket or not, they didn't know. Their only option was sort of to throw another ticket into the bucket and hope that it shook out in the end.
It saved us a lot of time cleaning up tickets on the back end for sure. And our ticketing
Awesome.
queue in the morning is less overwhelming because we don't have tons of just brand new tickets after hours that we have to research and merge or figure out was it related to this other issue or not. So this is one of my favorite pieces of this.
Yeah, it makes the and I'll just say selfishly, it makes our folks in our call center have a really easy time too, right? Imagine being able to see that ticket history, right? And say, oh, well, you've recently had your device lock out. How can we help you avoid this? What can we do? Why are we seeing the same call, every week basically, or
Mhm.
things like that. And it really gives them some color and some history, and the ability to work directly with data in your system means that, we're not playing that synchronization game of, hey, what are you guys seeing? What are we seeing? Well, we have access to the same data. So now it's when somebody calls in and says, well, I talked to so and so during the day, or I talked to so and so a couple hours ago, and I just need to know if this thing has been updated or done, or what else I need to do. For our folks to be able to open that ticket and see next steps and see the summary is huge. We get actual data over to the student without having to bounce them around from one area to another, which is great.
And it's real time data. When your
Yes.
agents go in and update or create this, it's immediate in my system. With my old after hours provider, there was a delay because it's an email monitor and it has to go through its checks and balances and hit its workflow, and then it comes to us. And so there's no delay with this, which is also really nice. Time has been saved. So
Yeah.
much time.
Fantastic. I think that's a good overview of the EdgeView system. Did I miss anything that you guys especially love or use daily?
No, you hit pretty much everything that we utilize and love about it, and all of our custom fields too, which is great.
Good. I'm going to stop sharing, but I am going to ask you one more question before we sort of pop into the Q&A time here, which is what advice, if any, do you have for folks that might be in the same situation that MSU Denver was in, whether that's losing your support or just recognizing that you need to have that support?
Yeah, advice I have is don't get comfortable with something just because you've had it before. It is always good to look for new options and look at the competitors and look at what they offer. Like I said, that TDX integration, we kind of had our hand forced because our other provider was sunsetting. But being completely honest and transparent, we were already kind of shopping around. We were looking for something that was going to help us reduce our time spent on these tickets and help us be able to work better in our environment. My whole goal, I know you guys saw that 8% decrease in support tickets. My whole goal is like getting the users the support that they need as fast as they can, as in a variety of ways that they can access. So we end up taking less calls. Happiest users are the ones who never have to call us. So how can we help make that happen? And then if they do have to call us, how can we make that experience seamless for them? How can we make it quick? How can we get in and out so they're not spending an hour for a simple issue on the phone with us? They're spending 10 minutes for a simple issue on the phone with us. So reducing that. That also helped with my staffing woes and my call volume. Our abandon rate dropped significantly. I have more time to devote to the call queue because my team doesn't have to spend an hour cleaning up tickets and merging tickets and hunting through ticket history. So don't get complacent with what you have. If you've got problems with your current system, look at what's going to make it better and look for a provider that has those better options. If you're utilizing a ton of systems to access data, users' information, find a way to streamline it. And this is a way to streamline it. You know, so have those conversations with your leadership, your stakeholders, and get them talking about like ways that you can improve.
Yeah, and that plays right into poll number two that's been up and just finished, which was how many different applications are you supporting across the your ecosystem. Question wise, one of the few that we've got left here, we've tried to address them in real time, but one of the few that we've got left here is what are the costs associated with EduView? EduView is a really simplistic licensing model where you pay basically to license the platform and one-time implementation fee for each of those integrations, and then from there it's just the platform fee regularly. It's a pretty simplistic pricing situation. And if you're interested in that pricing, poll number 3 that we will throw up here will previous, Chris, sorry. Poll number 3 here. If you're interested in learning more about EduView or other solutions, yes, no, maybe. The 15-minute demo, I cannot endorse enough. I know that nobody has time really to dig into salesy things. We're in the middle of rush here and everybody's coming back on campus, but 15 minutes to get all of your individual questions answered and to see it in person and to talk about the problems that you need to solve with it can give you a really great idea as to whether it's something that you might want to consider come next budgeting season, right? Because we all go through that fun time of the year as well. So any other questions before we end? Be happy to for me or Nikki to answer about the way that MSU Denver uses the system or the system operates. All right, I think that takes care of it. We will end the webinar there. Thank you all so very much for coming. As always, reach out to Black Belt Help for any questions. Nikki, I cannot thank you enough for coming on and sharing your experiences. And I look forward to the next time we get to collaborate.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Awesome. Oh, apologies. We have one quick last second question in, which was how fast can I see a change I made in EduView? And I think we sort of alluded to that, but didn't answer it directly, which is immediately, because EduView is using live data. When we update a ticket, when BBH updates a ticket or changes something, that it happens basically immediately because we're working with live data. So it's just as though anybody on campus changed it through the regular piece of software. It just happens to flow through EduView. Excuse me. All right. Well, we will wrap up there. Thank you again, Nikki. Thank you everyone for joining us and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.